Welcome, everybody, to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
Welcome back inside the studio for another exciting edition of Two Up Front. Simon and I have a great show in store for you today. So many exciting things happening, some exciting guests, exciting topics. I get to make fun of Simon and his predictions from last year's MLS season. He gets to make fun of me a little bit as well. And we get to do it all over again as we get to predict the upcoming top 6 teams in Major League Soccer as well. Later on in the show, we'll be joined by Fox Sports' Rob Stone as well. And in just a little bit, we'll be joined by the Milwaukee Torrent's very own Andi Davi as well. But we'll get to all that in just a moment. But before we do, we want to take a minute to remind all of you that if you enjoy listening to Two Up Front, that you can find us on Sports Radio America on Fridays from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time by going to sportsradioamerica.com or going to tunein.com and searching for Sports Radio America, or downloading the TuneIn app and doing the same thing that way. You can also catch the show live here on Spreaker.com on Wednesdays from 1 to 2:15, 2:30 p.m. Central Time, depending on if Simon's got bigger and better, acting things or whatever, like you had to ditch us for last week. We don't hold it against you. No, you can do that, or you can find us on demand on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and on Spreaker.com as well.
We're also on Facebook, Two Up Front. We're on Twitter at Two Up Front Soccer. We've got our own Twitter handles as well, at Baxter Colburn, at Simon Provan.
Are you sure? It's the great part about doing Twitter handles that are, your name is, it's hard to forget your own Twitter handle. It's like if you forget your name, then maybe you'll have a problem with that.
When I'm saying the Twitter handles, though, I feel like I'm, from the redundancy department of redundancy,
Apparently, yeah. It's like, I'm Baxter Colburn. My Twitter handle is Baxter Colburn.
Right,
I understand that, yes. And if you ever want to get more information about the show, you can also go visit our website as well by going to, it's a little long, but it's fairly simple to follow along. Speaking of the Redundancy Academy here, it's twoupfrontsoccer.wix.com/twoupfrontsoccer. Go and check that out. You can see about upcoming shows that we have, upcoming schedules, if you want to catch previous episodes or specific interviews as well. So you can go and listen back to our show that we did with Peter Wilt and our interview with Peter Wilt as well from the Chicago NASL team. You'll be able to hear the interview that we did with Andi, that we're going to be doing with Andi Davi and with Rob Stone as well today. So lots of different things that you can do to interact with the show. If you ever want to get at us as well during the show, you can find us on Twitter, as Simon mentioned, at Two Up Front Soccer. So we are excited. Big show, full show for you today, and we need to get right to it. And then welcome in a good friend of the show, the Milwaukee Torrent's very own Andi Davi. Andi, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you for having me again.
You're very welcome. Now, it's been a couple months since we've had you on the show, Andi, and a lot has happened. Last time we talked, the Milwaukee Torrent was more than an idea, but it was not nearly to the point that it is now. So can you kind of catch us up to speed of what's all been going on?
Well, I think the last time we had you had me in, we were at the Highbury.
That's right, yeah.
And we were still talking about the ESL2.
That's right.
So we obviously made the switch to the NPSL. What was a longer process, but at the end, for the Torrent, for the town, for the soccer community, obviously a better league, well-known league with more than 80 teams. Just in the Midwest, 3 divisions. We can play as a professional team that we are in the Midwest. We're going to play a provisional season so far because some of the teams came in later. Some teams in the Midwest in the Central Division left, but it's all good. There will be a reshuffle next year in the divisions, and we're going to have 7 teams in the Central Division. And yeah, we're happy that we're finally in the NPSL, and go and develop everything from there.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting too, as you mentioned, you've got a provisional season you're playing here. Looking at your schedule, you guys kick things off April 23rd against Marquette University, and then you take on University of Wisconsin-Green Bay as well, April 30th. So 2 fairly well-known names in the soccer community in the state of Wisconsin. Why did you guys choose to go with 2 college teams for your first games?
Well, I think it was important that we see the step between college soccer and then to pro soccer. Obviously with the connection that I have through the years through the colleges, I just asked them, and we also wanted to do different games in the communities. We didn't want to play all the games at E-Line. We wanted to go down to Milwaukee. We're still trying to have a game at MSOE. We're going to have games at in Germantown, and I'm happy that we play those against those college teams. the schedule for many majors teams is already full, so we made the decision that we play those college teams instead of just major teams.
And that's fantastic. Now, the last time that we talked, you only had 2 players that we knew of. We knew of James Weber and we knew of Ian Bennett, and now it seems like every other day you guys are announcing a new player. I don't expect you to shoot everybody's name off on the top of the year, but can you highlight at least maybe some names that the Milwaukee area might know a little bit more?
Well, we have Stuart Grable, Tony and AJ Patterson on the team. Matt Isold is on the team. Dustin Ashley, UWM standout defender. Luke Goodnetter is on the team. Bojan Jovicic is on the team. We have a roster of 19 players now, and we're going to work with those 19 players.
You are? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. And what is your ideal end game goal that you're looking for, though, if you had to pick for amount of players you'd like on a roster? Because I think it's supposed to be 23, I think, is eventually what it is.
Well, I could register 26.
Oh, you could? Okay.
But there's always things can happen. As of right now, I do not plan to put any other players on the roster.
Okay.
Because I want to work with those 19 players that I have. They know the schedule. They're committed. They will be there. I hope we don't have any injuries, but there's always players in my head if I have to add somebody that I can add.
And you mean you can always call Simon?
I can call Simon.
You got Simon off the bench. He's very good.
Always good for 10-15 minutes.
Exactly.
Right?
Short little bursts if you need him.
That's all we need at the end.
I'll do my one sprint, and then I'll be asking, all right, take
Coach, I'm done. I'm done. So,
as long as you score.
Exactly.
Okay.
He's the wonder sub. He's the Alan Gordon of the Milwaukee Torrent. Well, that's fantastic. Well, it looks like, as just looking through your roster, looking through everything, not only just as your team as a whole is coming together on the field, but off the field, it seems that promotions, it seems that sponsors, it seems like you're really starting to put everything together and look like, not that you weren't a real soccer team, but you're looking like a real established organization now. And I think that speaks volumes not only of the work that you put into everything, but it seems like the community's been fairly excited about it as well. And you were telling us a little off the air as well that you've already started selling season ticket packages as well. And you have some good news kind of about that, don't you?
Yeah, we have. So first, remember when you guys had me in first, there was a reason why I announced this 1 year before we could actually play, because I knew it's a long way. The sponsors that we have, it's a group of 12 companies, bigger companies, that are supporting the Torrent. They all have signed up for 2 years, so that we do not have to worry about every year finding new sponsors. Now I'm actually at this point where companies come to us, and this is something that's
what you want.
That's what you want. That's a good problem to have. We just started. I think I started Friday with season packages to sell.
Okay.
We have a limited number of 50. We have only 4 left, but then also the normal season tickets go out. We're almost already at 100. We have time to sell those season tickets. The deadline is May 15th.
Okay.
We just wanted to also have the opportunity to play some games before the deadline runs out, that people really get excited about it, that they see, okay, this is really going to happen. Because I think that was for most of the people at the beginning when I announced this, that they said, okay, is this really going to happen? He announced this already a year before. What's going to happen? And then you signed the first player. Oh, that's interesting. You announce a league. Doesn't matter which league it is. Then you announce a sponsor, the different sponsors. And now that the schedule is out, now I think it really is going to pick up. I think we just got in the last 2 months almost like 600-700 new likes on Facebook.
Wow. Okay.
Nice.
That's fantastic.
And yeah, it's just, I said this to you before. I knew it would work, but you need the time to do this.
Exactly.
And the support is there. We obviously wish there would be much more support from the public, but we had yesterday for the first time a meeting with the Milwaukee Barons. It was a great meeting. They support as good as we can, and yeah, everything so far is all set. We could actually starting playing already next week.
And of course, you have your own founding supporters group, the Flood, as well.
Flood,
yeah. And that's not unusual. We see, like in Columbus, there's 4 or 5 different supporters groups, but they all get together during the game, sit in the same section in the Nordeck. I imagine we'll end up seeing that at Torrent games. And I'd like to really clarify that this is professional outdoor soccer. All the players you have on the roster are getting paid. You'll have some big news coming very soon about this professional tag.
Yeah, so we're going to have tonight, our players were going to sign tonight the contracts with USSF. Okay. That means they will be registered with the USSF as a professional soccer player, so that nobody can say this is not professional soccer. It is. They're paid. They have unemployment insurance, everything what you need for it. And that was important to me because I do not want that anybody says I'm not better like some amateur teams who pay the players under the table, because we are a professional organization. We do everything the right way, the legal way, and in support with U.S. Soccer and the NPSL.
Which is fantastic, and I think kind of moves on to it as well, because last time we talked, you had said you were going to be a part of the American Soccer League too, and now, just as of a couple of weeks ago, you are now a part of the NPSL, which is fantastic, and I was wondering if you could elaborate just a little bit about the NPSL for those that maybe don't know about it.
Well, so the NPSL stands for the National Premier Soccer League. I think the league started in 2005. It's a nationwide league with 4 big regions. Each region has at least 2 divisions. We have in the Midwest 3 divisions. There's now the Central Division, and there's the Great Lakes West, where are teams from Michigan and 1 team from Ohio. And then there's the Great Lakes East that goes all the way to Buffalo. The league is basically, they started as an under-23 league. So when I was running this league with another Milwaukee club, we used this as a typical with college kids in the summer, that they have to do something in the summer. But the league, obviously, they also look to get bigger. I think there are right now 86 teams in the whole country, what is the biggest league in America.
Yep.
And from an advertising, from a marketing point, it's just gold that we're in this league, and there are always plans for expansions. How do you make this league bigger? What is the goal of this league? I know there's obviously talks about being involved with the NASL. Does the NPSL, can the NPSL go year round? Those are all the things that we are looking for, and that makes it for us easier to be involved with this.
Absolutely, and that's the thing too about soccer year round, and that's always the big thing. It's like, well, how can we play soccer year round? And it's hard because in the Midwest and the East Coast, it's hard. I mean, unless you have a nice indoor stadium or whatever, it's hard to play the year round. Or if you have the travel budget to say, hey, we're going to go to Florida for the weekend, or we're going to go to California or Texas. But it's the fact, though, is if you build up enough support, you build up enough backing, people are going to be more than willing to do what they have to make, potentially a year-round league happen, especially with so many teams, which is fantastic. I mean, looking at the map as I am right now and seeing where all the teams are, it's, basically from, Minnesota east is just filled with teams, and obviously there's that great gap in the middle of the country because nothing exists in the middle of the country in Montana and all that stuff. And then California comes in with obviously their whole host of teams. So it's great to see, though, that soccer continues to grow. And I know folks are saying, well, we should focus on building Major League Soccer. We should focus on building, the NASL, the USL. But really, though, in communities like Milwaukee and communities all across the nation, having something like what the NPSL does, that really is a good test, though, to find out if a bigger market and a bigger team can exist. And I think you're starting to kind of find that out a little bit too, right?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean the main goal cannot be to stay in the NPSL. Of course, you want to develop something higher, but you have to make step by step, baby steps, like I said at the beginning. And we need to establish the Torrent. We need to have a fan base, and then we go from there. Obviously, there's a big amount of money that you need. Like I said, I run this as of right now as a homegrown program with players from Wisconsin. We have great players in Wisconsin. I want that our kids have something to look up, and then we go from there. And the first is just to establish, have a great first season, and with a great season, with great soccer, the success and the support will come.
And changing topics just a little bit, still staying on the Torrent, of course. You do have your community foundation.
Yes.
And talking about kids and wanting kids to be at the games, but also reaching out to them. I wonder if you could let the community that doesn't know much about your community foundation, shed some light on what that's all about.
So what we're going to do is the community foundation will run year-round soccer camps for kids who cannot afford the game of soccer. Okay. So we are currently in the process of raising money for those camps. I am in touch with recreational programs. I have already an agreement with one school where we do camps for the kids. And my personal goal is that we invite to specific camps, we invite coaches from different clubs, and that they would give out scholarships. So the goal is that, like I said, year-round soccer, kids who cannot afford the sport of soccer or cannot afford to be in a club, because we all know it, unfortunately, it is expensive to be a part of a club. And just giving them the education, inspire them to become a soccer player, and just have fun with those kids and give them some new kind of education and something to look forward to, and maybe like I said, inspire them to be or to become a soccer player.
Great.
So,
and that's you can find information on that on the Milwaukee Torrent's webpage, MilwaukeeTorrent.com. Click on Foundation. People can donate on that page as well to help with the foundation.
Yes, can donate on the page. What our first goal is now for the camp that I have every year with Bayer Leverkusen, we're going to give out 75 scholarships.
Wow.
To this camp. So that will be just great, and I hope I'm gonna get support also for this from the community, because it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's fantastic. Well, I mean, it's obvious that you are definitely miles ahead of where you were the last time we talked. I know it's only been it's almost been a year. It's been a little under a year since we've last had you on for a while, and it's just fantastic to see the growth. And it's obvious that this is something that the people in the Milwaukee area want, and they'd almost kind of be foolish not to be a part of it, because look, it's going to happen regardless if they wanted to or not.
Exactly.
And why would, if people love soccer as much as they claim to in the great state of Wisconsin, I mean, even for me being from Florida coming back to Wisconsin, it's obvious that people love soccer in Wisconsin. So this is something that, from an outsider looking in, it's growing. Why would you not want to be a part of it? I'm excited to come out in some of these games. I know Simon's excited to get out to them as well. And we're just, I think this whole upcoming season, I understand it's a provisional season. It's the working out the bugs and the kinks, and I understand that. But from everything that I've seen from what you're doing with the organization, it looks like people are going to be there going, wait, this is the first season? Like it's going to feel like you guys have been around, I'm sure, for much more than just a year or two, and which I think that speaks to your level of dedication to this club, which is obvious and fantastic and very commendable, obviously.
Thank you. Yeah, it's like I said, 1 year ago, it takes time to do this the right way, and people who know me know that I am the German way. It has to be organized. It has to be perfectionist, and people they deserve the quality. And that's what I'm looking for, because without 100% dedication, you won't reach what you want to reach.
Absolutely.
Well, another great thing about this is looking at your roster. You've got a lot of hometown kids on this club. I know they're men, but I'm almost 40, so I get to say kids now.
They could be your kids, Simon.
That's right. Oh yeah, that's right. But there's a lot of players on this team that are from the area, and quite frankly, you'll have people who say, I wish the Torrent was in the USL or NASL. Got to be realistic. First of all, those cost a heck of a lot more money.
Exactly.
Both of those, it's going to be announced soon from US Soccer that you need to have an actual, I don't want to say actual stadium, because you'd be playing in a stadium over at Eline Park.
Correct.
But
the capacity of the stadium will go up.
Right,
the minimal standards will raise the minimal standards.
And the fact of the matter is, if people want a team, if they want to see the Torrent get into a higher league, the support needs to be there, because that's one of the first things these leagues look at is, well, what's the support of the local professional team that's there, no matter the level. Yeah. So people, get out there, support the Torrent.
And that's what I said in one of our first interviews, and I said this to everybody. If you identify with the Milwaukee Torrent and you want to go to a soccer game, you want to drink your beer, you want to eat your bread, you want to stand and chant for the team, it doesn't matter which league it is at the beginning. It's
exactly.
I mean, you're not a fan of a club because of the league.
Right. Yes.
That's true. That's 100% true.
You're a fan of a club because it's your hometown, it's what you support, what you want.
Yep.
So you're not a fan of the NASL or the USL, you're a fan of the club. And if you have this identification with the Milwaukee Torrent, with a guy who's loyal to the town, with a guy who counts on the local players, who wants to do something for the kids, come out, support us.
Exactly, yeah, and I think that's a great part about it, too, is down in the city that I'm from in Florida, we have a team called the Southwest Florida Adrenaline, which is just a PDL team, and is one of those teams that you get a chance to see what it's like to have an opportunity to have young teams. And you said it's not always about the team that you support, and it's not about the league that you support, it's about the team that you support. And this is a very small team. They play at a local high school, but fans still come out, they still support it because they support the team and they support the growth of these young college guys. And it's a few levels. Obviously the PDL is different than what the NPSL is, but it was still exciting though when we're having a soccer team come to to my small town down in Florida. So it's, like you said, if people support the team, it doesn't matter if they play, in Europe or if they play, in the PDL kind of a thing, which is fantastic. Yeah.
Well, and just one more thing along with that. The great thing about starting in a league like the NPSL Andi doesn't have to charge an arm and a leg for tickets.
Exactly.
Me and my family of 4 can go to a game and walk away, having had some hot dogs and whatever else, and not feel like that we now got to take out a home equity loan.
Exactly. Exactly. I have to sell one of your daughters. That way you can go to the game.
Right.
Yeah, that was really important to me, that we can make it affordable to everybody. And this is why I said we don't want to depend on entrance money at our budget, because I just want that people come. So the ticket prices will be $8 for an adult and $4 for a kid. The season tickets season ticket include 5 games, and you pay for 4 games and you get 1 game for free.
Oh, that's a good deal. I mean,
so
you got me sold.
You can really not complain about this. There were some people who asked me, why is this so cheap?
You got to start somewhere. If you came out the gate and said, "Hey, it's $50 for an adult," and 40, people would be like, "Are you crazy?"
I mean, I want that you come to every game. I just don't want that you can afford only to go to 1 game.
Exactly.
Because it's with a family of, like you said, Simon. I don't want that you have to spend $150 for a game.
Right.
I want that you really come, that you maybe buy a scarf or a hat or whatever, and just have fun and say, you know what, it was worth the money. I come next week again.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Exactly. Okay. And as you mentioned, opening day just a few short weeks away, April 23rd against Marquette University at Valley Field, 7 p.m. Go there, support the Torrent, support Milwaukee soccer as a whole. I mean, yes, it's Marquette. It's a game you obviously want to support the Torrent, but it's 2 Milwaukee teams getting together and playing the beautiful game from an American perspective, as we like to say here on 2 Up Front. Well, Andi, Davi, thank you so much for joining us on the program today, sir. We appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. All right, we are going to go to a break. When we come back, Simon and I are going to reveal who we think the top 6 teams in each conference will be in Major League Soccer this year. Simon and I are going to even take a travel back in time to see who we thought last year's best teams were going to be, and we'll have a few laughs along the way as well. You're listening to 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. Welcome back to another edition of 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
Just had the opportunity to speak with Milwaukee Torrent's owner and head coach, Andi Davi. getting to hear a little bit more about everything that's happening with the Milwaukee Torrent this season and their opening game just a few weeks away. It's kind of crazy. It felt like a year or two ago almost that we talked saying, oh, yeah, here's the idea, here's what I'm thinking about doing, and now we're just a few short weeks away from opening kick.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
It is it's exciting. It's exciting to I'm so excited I can't even say the word exciting. But it's exciting to have professional soccer in Milwaukee again.
It is. It absolutely
Professional
is.
outdoor soccer.
Professional outdoor soccer in Milwaukee again. I wasn't. I don't know if I was around.
You were not. Milwaukee Rampage was the last professional outdoor team here.
Yep, that was. I don't think I was even alive yet.
Yeah, then they folded the year after they won the old A-League championship or USL Division, First Division, whatever it was called at that point.
Talk about celebrating too hard, I guess. It's like, we won, and we're done. It's like, okay.
Problem with the Rampage is they were moving all over the place.
That'll do it.
And so it was getting to be harder and harder to follow them. I'm pleased to say that my brother that's closest in age to me was part of that championship team.
That's right, yep.
But yeah, they folded a year after winning it all.
Interesting. All right, well, Simon, speaking of professional soccer, speaking of opening kick, Major League Soccer just a few short days away from kicking off. I'm excited about it. I've got my Revolution jacket on. I have my Taylor Twellman Revolution jersey on. I am full MLS everything right now. I'm very excited.
I am as well. I don't think I told you this, Baxter. When I was at MLS Cup, there was an awesome Timbers fan there, Timbers supporter, part of the Timbers Army that I was hanging out with. Her and a couple other buddies, and it was really cool to first of all be a loner there, and then all of a sudden you walk into the Timbers Army tailgate and
everyone's like, "Hey!"
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well, on top of all of that, they gifted me with an official Timbers Army scarf.
Did they?
Yeah.
Wow.
So you bet I'll be wearing that Sunday.
Oh, I would hope so. Yeah, and I'm a little upset because the Revolution play the Houston Dynamo, and we'll get to our predictions a little bit later on in the show. I think at like 2:00 on Sunday. And I have another broadcast at 2:00.
Of course
on
you
Sunday.
do.
I was like, of course I do. So
if it makes you feel any better, I'm coaching futsal at the time the Timbers are playing.
Are you okay?
On ESPN? So I'll be DVRing the game.
That's the great part about MLS Live and all those other services too. Is you can go back and watch it and stuff as well. So because I won't be able to watch the game live, and part of me's torn. It's like, well, I want to know what's happening in live time, but part of me's like, well, maybe if I just hang out for a few hours, and then I'll just go back and watch the game myself and react live to it as it happens.
And of course, it gets more and more difficult these days to avoid the scores, especially with the league growing and showing up on Timbers.
Exactly.
It's hard, but
just as a quick side note, when the U.S. played Ghana in the World Cup this last time around, I had a work meeting. I was job training. I was working at Lambeau Field for the summer, and I had a work meeting, training, whatever. It was like mandatory. You had to be there, or you didn't get the job. And I'm like, well, I need this job for the summer. And they're like, it's the same time as the U.S. men's national team game. And I'm like, oh, gosh. And at the time, I was an editor of 2 different soccer sites. I was doing all this other stuff. I'm like, I can't not know. But I'm like, I don't want to know. I want to go home. Right. I want to see it happen. So I literally went through my phone and deleted every single app off my phone that would even, I could even fathom a possibility of, anything happening. And I texted my friends, I texted my grandparents, my wife. I said, do not tell me. I'm like, I want to see it, figure it out when I get home. And my grandparents, because I was staying with them for the summer, watched the entire game, of course, while I was gone. And I came home and they're both just smiling at me. They're like, are you going to watch the game? I was like, just stop. Stop. I want to watch. I know what's good. I had an inkling based off of their body language when I came home. And I'm like, just let me see it. And it was much better being able to see Clint Dempsey's goal, 30 seconds into the game, live.
John Brooks winner.
Exactly. And I was able to react accordingly instead of just being like, oh, the highlights, cool. Like, no, it was
my
cool.
story with Ghana is actually the opposite.
Oh,
do this real quick as well. So this was not the last World Cup, but the World Cup before that one. So what is that, 2000, what year are we in? 16?
2010.
So 2010, yes, in the round of 16 game. I was on a shoot that day. And the guy... At lunch, one of the guys jokingly said, hey, we've got a big screen. Let's put the U.S. game up. I said, all right, cool, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I said, actually, no, I'm DVRing the game. We're only going to be in here for a half hour.
DVR 6 years ago?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good Lord.
And he said, okay. And he put up ESPN.com, not realizing that would be the first thing on there. And I saw that the U.S. was down 1-0. 5 minutes in.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he apologized profusely. I get home. My wife played it so cool. She's like, are you going to watch the game? And I said, yeah. She goes, okay, I'm going to go out with the girls. Me thinking she's going out just to, let me know what she's doing. Well, of course, then find out that the U.S. loses in overtime.
Like, son of a gun.
Yes.
Not to continue to deviate on this, but do you remember seeing the commercial over this last World Cup of the guy that's like trying to get home, basically doing the same, like throwing his phone out the window, just like that's basically what I was doing in my drive home. My phone rang and I like saw it, I was like, threw it into the back seat. I'm like, no, it can wait. If somebody is dead or whatever, somebody will call me again. But I'm like, no, I don't want to know. I will figure it out.
Yes.
People will just give me 2 hours and I will figure it out. And thankfully they won. Otherwise, if they had lost, I'd have been like, well, that was stupid. Like, why did I do that? But it was well worth it.
Yeah,
all right, Simon.
Yeah. Well, thanks for indirectly calling me stupid. I appreciate
no,
that.
not at all. Like, I just, going the extra mile, I feel like at times it was just funny. Anyway.
Well, where are we at here?
I think we're back in Major League Soccer is what we're talking about. So I wanted to go back real quick and look at what we said last year. If those of you that remember 35 episodes ago, our very first two up front, the first time we stepped out onto the pitch together, Simon, we offered our predictions for the upcoming Major League Soccer season, predicting who our top 6 teams would be in each conference, and then, it played out the way it did. So we're going to do the same thing today. We're going to predict our top 6 teams and go from there accordingly. But do you want to know what we predicted first, or do you want to do what we did, or do you want to do our teams this year?
Let's see how well or not well we did last year.
Okay, so we'll start with the West. With you last year. So starting at 6, you had the San Jose Earthquakes at number 6, and then you had the Portland Timbers at 5, Houston Dynamo 4, Sporting Kansas City 3, the Galaxy 2, and then your favorite team, the Seattle Sounders, at number 1.
Right.
That's what you predicted last year.
It is, and let me just say that Portland, I remember saying, I'm being honest with people, I'm picking them at number 5 because I don't really think they're going to make the playoffs, but I can't not choose them.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep. I went through and listened to the interview or the audio last night, and you were like, because you were futzing around with Houston, you were futzing with San Jose, you were futzing with Vancouver, and I asked you, I was like, why isn't Vancouver? You're like, because I secretly really just want Portland to make the playoffs.
Right. And I had argued that I thought San Jose, yes, they were young, but they had enough of a veteran experience in there to make it.
Dominic Kinnear was a big chip for you as well.
And they almost did. They almost squeaked in there, as did Houston. Houston, I think, was my worst pick. I will say that, putting them in at number 4 there. But they also gave a good run for their money about 3/4 of the way through this season.
Yes, yep, that's 100%
but I
true.
completely dropped the ball on the Vancouver Whitecaps.
Yes,
and FC
Dallas. If you ever get a chance to go back and listen to our first episode, go and listen to the last half of it. Simon explicitly says, I just don't think FC Dallas is that good. I just don't think they're going to make the playoffs this year. And how did FC Dallas finish in the West last year, Simon?
First.
Yeah, they finished first, and will arguably finish very close to that again this season. The West, how it actually ended up was Sporting Kansas City 6, LA Galaxy 5, Seattle 4, Portland 3, Vancouver 2, FC Dallas 1. Not awful.
No.
Not a bad grouping.
And let's be honest, the tough thing about any league, any soccer league that you're trying to predict is those transfer windows. They can change the whole team dramatically.
Oh, I completely agree with you on that one. Yeah, it's speaking of which, here, going back to our earlier conversation, Chris Blakely on Twitter says it's so hard to not know the scores these days with social media. He said, "Good choice, Baxter Colburn, on deleting the apps." Yeah, thank you, Chris. It was it was hard. Like, I literally had suddenly I had so much space and so much storage available on my phone, and I'm like, I can't do with it. I wanted to figure it out and witness it in live time. So that's how Simon's West ended up last year. What he predicted. So my East last year, I didn't miss too badly. The only team I missed on was the Montreal Impact, which, in total honesty, I missed the Montreal Impact, and I bet high on Orlando. So those are the two teams that hurt me last year.
Right, and let's be honest, Montreal wouldn't have made it had Drogba not
come
into the
I don't
fray.
think you take out Drogba and you take out their Champions League run, nobody in their right mind would have picked Montreal. I don't think Montreal would have picked themselves to make a top 6 spot last year, honestly.
Right, I agree.
So my East last year ended up with the New York Red Bulls at 6. Oh, that was fun. Toronto FC at 5, not too far off. DC United at 4. That's where they actually finished up perfectly, was 4. So do I get a point for that? I don't know. I picked Orlando City to finish 3, the Revolution to finish 2, and the Columbus Crew to finish 1. Now, I wasn't too far off with Columbus. How they actually finished was Toronto at 6, the Revs at 5, DC at 4, Montreal 3, Columbus 2, and the Red Bulls at 1. So both of us got 4 out of 6 teams correct in our predictions, which it's really hard to not do that. I mean, there's 10 teams in each division.
I thought maybe give us a little more credit, Baxter. I was feeling good about this.
No, I think it's. I know. I mean, obviously, I'm happy the way things turned out, but at the same time, the way Major League Soccer is, the fact that there is only 10 teams in each conference, it's pretty hard not to at least get at least 3 teams. You know,
right,
so I mean, the fact that we got 4 in each, I felt pretty good about, honestly.
Pretty good.
So
it's better than how LA did against Santos
Woo!
Laguna last
night. Do you want to take a moment to talk about that?
No, just to say LA lost 4-0. Look, I said I believe last week that none of these MLS teams are going to get out of the quarterfinals.
Yeah. That's
certainly how it's playing out. Since it's CONCACAF Champions League, I do cheer for Seattle, Chris Blakely, as we talked about over Twitter. They're really the last hope. I don't see Real Salt Lake. What Real Salt Lake does have is a home game, but I don't see them getting past Tigres. Seattle has a possibility of taking down Club America, but Club America has 2 away goals.
Yeah, and they're going to Club America now, right?
Yes. They're going down to Mexico City.
Not happening, guys. Sorry. Thanks.
So that's about all the time. I think DC United 1-1 draw with Querétaro.
Sure, great. No, but
so DC's
that away goal gets you.
I will say I was shocked by the 4-0 scoreline, and I give Bruce Arena a lot of credit. What he said last night after the game was, we didn't have any superstars on the field. They were all there,
but
they
nobody,
just except for Ashley Cole. Ashley Cole already living up to what we thought would happen.
Well, his son was born. That's why he was gone. Is because his kid was being born.
Well, the first report I read about it was why is Ashley Cole not down in Mexico?
Because his son is being born.
All right, I take it back.
Who the heck is out there saying, why is he not there?
I had a lawyer.
Come on.
Listen, I was going to fight a citation in court.
Oh, jeez.
And
what did you do?
I rode through a stop sign.
Oh my gosh.
But I was gonna fight it, and then my oldest daughter was born on the day of the court date. So of course I forgot about the court date.
Sure.
I go to court. I wrote in, said, could I please could this please be reopened? And they said, yeah, sure. I go down to court. The first thing the guy says, we understand you missed court because you thought being at the birth of your child was more important than fighting your citation. My reply was, yes, sir, and I would do it again every time.
Exactly, yeah. Oh, my gosh.
So, yes, I take it back, Ashley Cole. I did not see it was because of the birth of his son.
Yeah,
right.
Chris Blakely's heckling me on Twitter right now. He said the Sounders have the best chance to advance. He said a win and they are in, or a draw, 3 of aggregate of 3 or higher. And then he's also telling me not to be a hater because he's asking me how the Desert Diamond Cup trophy is. And like I told him on Twitter yesterday, I said, hey, Revolution won the first tournament of the year.
They did.
They've got the first trophy of the year. So
they beat 2 other MLS clubs, and
they beat the Houston Dynamo,
Arizona United.
Yes, they beat Houston Dynamo, and I think they beat Montreal or something like that. So
well, it took that.
You know what? It's a trophy. Okay, when's the last time the Revs won a trophy?
Does that make up for those 2 MLS cups that New England lost to Houston?
100%. I've already got my Desert Diamond trophy jersey, hung in my trophy case. I feel so good about it. No. You know what?
Right. Whew, we're going all over the place, Baxter.
We are. So my top 6 predictions for this season, Simon, and I'm sure we'll get to yours here in a moment as well. If we have time. We'll get to Rob Stone eventually. He's a nice guy. That's the beauty about pre-recording interviews. Anyway, the one and only trophy for New England. All right, Chris, you know what? I don't need this from you right now. You know what? We'll talk at the end of the season, all right? Don't make me come out to Seattle and anyway. So I've got number 6 in Major League Soccer in the Eastern Conference is the Montreal Impact. I've got them coming in at 6. I think that they've got a good roster this coming season, but the addition of Harry Shipp is fantastic. I just don't feel like they're going to be able to continue to ride the wave of what they did last season. They've got some good players. The midfield is probably the best part of their team, but their forwards are old and or not very experienced, and goalkeeping is always an issue for Montreal. I think 6 is a good spot for them, personally. Number 5, I've got Toronto.
Yeah, I would take issue with that simply because Toronto once again is starting the year on an 8-game road trip.
Yes.
As they finish up phase 2 of the BMO renovations.
Mm-hmm.
So if anything, I see Toronto back at number 6.
And that was the hard thing I was toying in my head. I was like, Toronto 5, Montreal 5, and I kind of flipped them back and forth and ended up with Toronto 5 purely because of all the great defenders they brought in this offseason. I think that they took a step in a very positive direction.
It's nice to see a club that's aspiring to be a super club actually go out and spend smart money for
They
once.
did super club smart things. They were like, oh, we need some quality defenders. Well, hey, let's go out and get Drew Moore. Hey, let's go out and get Stephen Beitashour. Well, perfect. Those are 2 well-known quality defenders that any team would love to have on their squad, and sure enough, that's what they have. So I think, not that those two are the defining factor, but you add those two, important clogs to the defense, plus you've got, a guy named Giovinco on your team. You've got Michael Bradley. Josie Altidore seems to be in a much better place mentally and physically this season as well, so I think he could be a force to be reckoned with this season as well, but I don't see them going higher than 5. As you mentioned, those first 8 games of the season are going to be hard to overcome. If they win half of those, I'd be surprised.
Right,
honestly,
I agree with you.
regardless of who they play. Number 4, Chris Blakely, is the New England Revolution, just purely because... once again, New England didn't do much this offseason, and folks will say, and Revs fans might yell at me too, saying, "Well, we got Kofi from Vancouver. That's a huge midfielder." Well, yes, that's great, but what else did the Revolution do?
Right,
nothing. They didn't do anything else. Their midfield is the best part of the team.
They did their usual, Baxter, which was basically nothing.
The New England Revolution are the Green Bay Packers of Major League Soccer. They love the draft. Love the draft. They're very good at what they do. They've gotten some good players. I'm still a little bitter about them getting rid of Patrick Mullins, because how do you get rid of a 2-time Hermann Trophy winner? Anyway, but they didn't go out. They weren't very active in the transfer market. And this is great that they have this partnership, whatever, with Sporting CP or whoever this Portugal club is. That's great and all, but they're not doing much with it. They've got one guy on loan, which is great. He's a defender. Okay, well, awesome. But New England as a whole... great, they're a fun team, but you're critical of Portland all the time. I'm critical of New England all the time.
Sure.
New England plays boring soccer. They really do.
Yep,
they really do.
I'll be honest with you. When I see New England on the schedule, unless they're playing Portland, I have no desire to tune into the game.
No, and that's the hard part about, and that's why some folks when I tell them, yeah, I'm a Revolution fan, they're like, really? They're like, why? I'm like, well, I go back.
I give you credit for that too, as well, though.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. So New England's my 4 team. 3 is the Columbus Crew in the Eastern Conference in my top 6 predictions here for Major League Soccer. Columbus Crew at 3. You can't fault what they're doing this season. Last season they were fantastic. They didn't really lose anybody. They just re-signed Kai Kamara. He's now their new second DP on the team. They now have 2 on the team. Kai Kamara on the club for at least another 2 to 3 seasons. Columbus, they're going to be good. As long as Kai Kamara is on the field, as long as Will Trapp and Steve Clark is between the posts, they're going to be good. They've got a fantastic team. Ethan Finley now getting U.S. men's national team minutes. Well, what's not to love about the Columbus Crew?
Yeah, it's a stacked team. It's a good carryover from last year.
Yes.
I would arguably have them up in the 1 or 2 spot.
Yes. No, I'd agree with you on that one.
But who do you have at the number 2 spot?
The number 2 spot is actually who I predicted at number 3 last year, and I was a little upset that I got burned by them, but they've made some very, very smart off-season transactions. The Orlando City SC, they went out, they've brought in Italian international Antonio Nocerino. He now gets to play alongside Kaká, and you talk about some of the other good guys they've got on the team. They just, no matter what you look at the team, they've got very good defenders. They've got young, exciting offensive products. You've got Kyle Larin, and just everything I like about Orlando. They're my dark horse. And I know 2 is probably a little bit high, but the great thing about the Eastern Conference is that, that could be a 1-point difference above Columbus or whatever.
That's a great point that you just made, because I was thinking, Orlando City at number 2. I think they'll make the playoffs, but I don't know if they're going to be that high. But, yeah, you got to consider it's the Eastern Conference, which is for a strong, and the West got even stronger this year. I don't want to say the Eastern Conference got even weaker. You can make the case that it got stronger as well, but it's still the East.
Exactly, and that was the hard part about going through and doing all of these predictions. And as I was looking through, and I looked at New York, or the Red Bulls, I looked at NYCFC, and I looked at NYCFC, and I was like, God, they're old. Yeah. They're not exciting. They're old. Sure, they brought in all these players. Wow. But they're old.
They're old.
They don't have good players. They don't have exciting, dynamic, game-changing players that are in their prime. Sure, David Villa is going to do everything in his power to make the team relevant this season, but it's just not going to happen. And that's why, New York City FC is not going to be in the playoffs this year. I'd be shocked if they were. So my number 1 team is the New York Red Bulls, a team that pretty much lost nobody this offseason. They bring back all the right pieces. As long as Luis Robles is on your team, you're going to be a good team. I don't care if you're Chivas USA or if you're the Red Bulls.
And Jesse Marsh showed that he knows how to take a team.
He does.
Whether they're uber talented, whether they're that mid-level player, he gets them all to play together.
Yeah. Yep, exactly.
Fascinating job.
Absolutely. So, once again, my top 6, the Montreal Impact, Toronto FC, the Revolution, the Columbus Crew, Orlando, and the Red Bulls. We're going to take just a really fast break. When we come back, Simon will give you all of his doodads for the West, and then when we come back after that, Rob Stone will be on the program. So we'll be right back with more
Doodads
here on Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America.
I said doodads.
Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And this is Simon Provan.
All right, Simon, I got to offer my top 6 teams in who I believe will finish in Major League Soccer last segment, and now you get to do the same for the West. So who do you have, sir?
All right, Baxter. Well, we won't spend as much time because I really want to hear from Rob Stone. He's far more interesting than I am. And considering how horrible I was on some of my picks last year.
Hey, you went 4 for 6.
I'm going to do this the opposite way. I'm going to start at number 1.
Oh, really?
And make my way down to number 6. Because
okay.
I think people will either be shocked, they will want to...
they'll be rioting in the streets.
They want to shoot their radios when they hear who my number 6 is this year.
Please tell me it's Seattle.
Starting with number 1. I'm going with Vancouver Whitecaps.
Yeah, well done.
Reason is they have had an outstanding offseason. Players they've brought in. They've got Christian Bolaños, who is a Costa Rican international playing with from Saprissa. The trade that they made with FC Dallas is great for both teams. Blas Perez into Vancouver, who they traded Mauro Rosales.
How was that great for both teams? I thought we talked about this last week, that FC Dallas kind of got the shaft on that one.
Well, I think Rosales is the type of midfielder that Dallas can use. He's great.
Yeah,
he's great in transition.
He's older than Blas, isn't he?
I don't know about that.
Oh,
I don't know about that.
What do I know?
And Blas, I don't even know if Blas will even start. That's the thing. He's going to...
That's true.
Could be a super
He's the new Alan Gordon.
All right, I promised I wouldn't spend as much time as the East.
I won't talk as much. So, continue.
Well, speaking of FC Dallas, though, that's who I have as my number 2.
Okay.
This is still a young team, but they proved last year that they are a young team that knows how to play.
Oh, yeah.
They play outstanding football.
Very, very good team.
You've got Gonzalez back in goal, who I think is the best goalkeeper in the league, frankly.
Ooh.
With how it was only 11 games that he was starting, but he was amazing in there. He led the league in his goals against average.
It's hard to argue against that.
Now, FC Dallas is a team, and I'm not picking on you, but unlike the Revolution, if I see FC Dallas now on the schedule, I want to tune in and watch them.
No, I agree.
They play some
I
quick
completely
soccer.
agree.
Number 3 is your reigning MLS Cup champion, the Portland Timbers. I also think Portland had a fantastic offseason.
They did.
They got rid of Villafana to
Jorge
Santos Lugano.
Yeah, I was a picture of him and
LA.
Who was it? It was a picture of him and was it Gio, I think, last night? It was just from the game that I saw, like a headline picture that was circulating.
They've done well, though, with players they've gotten rid of. Not that they should have gotten rid of them, but somebody like Maximiliano Urruti, great. He's a fan favorite, but he cost this club too much money.
Yeah, he's now at FC Dallas.
He is at FC Dallas, which is a great pickup for Dallas. I love the fact they got rid of Will Johnson. Fokive is one of those players that would have been nice to keep him, but this club is about giving players a great opportunity as well. So they transferred over to a club in Europe. But they filled a lot of their holes. Chris Clute from Columbus, of course, he's got an injury right now, but we'll probably see him fill in for Villafana there. I think we'll see Portland play a 4-3-3 like they did last year, though they could switch to a 4-5-1 as well. Caleb Porter was messing around with those formations.
Yeah.
They got a nice, great sub in Jack Mack. And they got some other great players in there, too, that really could do a stand-up job. I love the move of Ned Grabovoy coming in as well.
Now, I have to ask you, because I'm sure it'll come up 100 times for the rest of the season. Are you still anti-Caleb Porter?
I'm not as much anti-Caleb Porter. I think once he realized, when he stopped being so stubborn with the positions that he was trying to play these players in, and when he allowed Darlington Nagbe to go in the middle and saw what he can do in the middle, which was shocking because he coached him at Akron, so he should have known that. So no, I'm not as anti-Caleb Porter.
Okay.
Hey, they raised the cup.
And that's the thing, and that's what I was wondering, how much of a buffer you're going to have on your Caleb Porter haterade this season going into the year.
If they start the season again with draw after draw after draw after draw, they have to start this year like they ended last year. They have to. Mm-hmm. And there's no reason they can't.
True.
That's the big thing going into this
They
year.
didn't lose enough that they shouldn't be where they were last year.
They basically finished the year on an 8-game unbeaten streak.
Yeah.
All right? So Porter has figured things out, it seems like. And he's basically got the same players back. I mean, they got such a great spine with, I already mentioned Nagbe, but you've got Diego Chara in there, Diego Valeri in there.
Fernando Adi
up top. So it should be, Asprilla, sorry. Asprilla will probably be starting this year as well. He's the really fast guy that makes all those fantastic moves. So it could be quite a Portland Timbers. I wouldn't be surprised if they end up finishing up at 1 or 2, to be honest with you. All right, number 4. Blakely's going to be happy about this one.
I'm sure
I got the Sounders at number 4.
Okay.
That may be a little bit high. Of course, they don't have Obafemi Martins anymore, who's playing over in China. Apparently, though, Seattle got quite a bit of good money. I haven't seen a final number, but they turned a profit on that transaction.
Has anybody been able to figure out how much he made yet?
Haven't heard.
Chris, if you're listening, get an intern on that, please.
But, of course, they got Jordan Morris now. Great signing for Seattle.
If you like that sort of thing.
They've got this new player, not really new, but he was on S2. Olex Anderson. Looks to be a really good player that Seattle has. Moving on, number 5. I don't want to spend too much time on that.
I understand. No.
Number 5, I got.
Give him too much time.
People are wondering where the Galaxy is. I got them at number 5.
La Galaxy.
I am not sold on them. A lot of people are saying they've got the superstars, but
they're old.
They're old. De Jong's not as old as the rest of them.
The light breaker.
Giovanni is actually not old.
See, that's the thing. People forget Gio's not that old.
No.
Gio's just been good his entire career.
So do I think L.A. could do a reversal here and charge up to number 1? Absolutely. But I'm just not sold on them yet.
No, I don't think L.A. will go. I don't think L.A. will be a top 3 team this year.
All right, so my surprise pick for the year, Baxter. San Jose's done a little bit.
True.
That could be them.
Yes.
Houston's done a little bit. That could be them. I don't see Real Salt Lake finishing in the top 6. They've brought in players. They've got Yura Movsisyan, if I'm saying that right, from Spartak Moscow.
Movsisyan.
Yeah, back in the league, back with Real Salt Lake. But, they haven't really picked up many impressive players after having to let go of some players. Let's see. Houston also, again, hasn't done much. I think the team that's going to surprise people that I'm not putting up in my top 6 is Sporting KC.
You're not putting them in your top 6?
I'm not putting them in my top 6. So who does that leave? Here's my surprise pick of the year.
I lost count.
I think this team has actually had a better offseason than people are giving them credit for. And we will see their ranks improve during the summer transfer window as well, when a Mr. Tim Howard will probably come over.
See, I had an inkling. Okay.
I have Colorado.
How interesting.
Finishing at number 6 this year.
How interesting.
Listen, they got Connor Doyle from DC United. Decent pickup there. They've got Sheklin Gashi. We'll see how he is, but he's a transfer over from Basel.
Sure.
They got Zach McMath in goal until Howard gets there.
True.
And people say, well, one player can't make that much of a difference on a soccer field. I would beg to differ that a goalkeeper can make a huge difference for your club. And
especially when it is a wall.
And they've got Marco Papa in their midfield.
True.
That's a good offseason.
I don't want to be that guy, but I'm curious to know how good Marco Papa is after he got stabbed a bunch of times by his girlfriend.
That's true.
I don't want to be that guy, but I'm genuinely curious.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you get stabbed a bunch of times by your girlfriend, how good can a player be?
Well, Charlie Davis has turned it around.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, a car crash is a little. Well, I mean,
no, he was near death.
That's
man.
true. I don't know. I don't want to be that guy. I'm not gonna.
So, anyways, those are my top 6:
Okay.
Vancouver, FC Dallas, Portland, Seattle, LA Galaxy, Colorado Rapids. But it'll be a very impressive Western Conference this year, which will make the playoffs interesting because. Does that mean the Western teams beat up on themselves so much that they physically cannot win MLS Cup this year?
That's what I wonder, and that's the constant battle every year. Is the West is usually too good, and the East is like just happened to be 6 guys that wandered into the party. It's like, hey, we're here. Can we? Yeah. Are we relevant?
Do you got a pick for MLS Cup that you want to throw out there?
Let me think about it.
All right.
Let me think about it. I'll do that during my I Believe segment.
Sounds good.
All right, we'll be right back. Rob Stone right after this. You're listening to 2 Up Front. Welcome back to another edition of 2 Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
This is Simon Provan.
All right, Simon, we have a very unique and exciting opportunity here on 2 Up Front to get to chat with somebody that knows a thing or two about the soccer world, especially from an American perspective. Who are we able to be joined by now?
Oh, we're very honored to be joined by Fox Sports sports commentator, analyst, all kinds of things, Mr. Rob Stone.
Welcome to the show, Rob.
Baxter, Simon, thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, we appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule, Rob, and I know that right away we kind of want to jump into things with you in terms of some of the things that are happening in Major League Soccer right now. We know that the expansion seems to be the word of the year with all the teams that continue to be added to the league, but if you had to give a brief summary of kind of the state of Major League Soccer right now, what exactly would you say to us?
I think it's in a really good place. I think it's been in a good place for a while, but I feel that at the moment it's kind of without major issues hanging over it. My good friend Alexi Lawless and I, we carpool into work together, and we both have this deep passion for MLS and want to see it succeed, even though we are very aware of the warts that exist with it. And we were talking the other day how, in past off seasons, there's always been 1 or 2 nagging issues out there, whether it was labor or a stadium issue or what's happening, with players and things like that. And this year, this off season, we're kind of struggling to find something that's really problematic. You could say, hey, we need to resolve this Miami expansion issue. That's kind of a luxury problem, if you ask me. We lose Obafemi Martins to China. Well, if they're going to overpay for a guy, this is what you do in the business world. So I feel like MLS is in a really good spot right now as they enter that 21st year. And as you mentioned, expansion is the big talking point. And I think there's a lot of people out there who are a little worried that maybe they're expanding too quickly. It's tough to walk away from that cash that's sitting out there if somebody wants to invest in your league and bring this wonderful sport to a town near you. But outside of that, I think MLS is maybe as solid as it's really ever been in its brief history.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And, I know a lot of people are concerned, thinking back to the original NASL days of that league overexpanding way too quickly. At the same time, I think one of the things that people don't understand when they compare those two leagues is how much more solid of a foundation that MLS has compared to the old NASL.
Yeah, that's definitely, I think, one big thing that you hear about. And folks are still kind of a little worried about it. They're like, why do we have so many tiers of American soccer? We don't have promotion relegation, which I know can be a debate for many hours. But I feel like, especially with Major League Soccer right now, they seem to have it figured out. Don Garber has done a fantastic job of kind of getting all his ducks in a row. And they're expanding, which is a good thing, but they're not doing it too quickly where you're, like you mentioned, Simon, with the NASL, where it was like, oh, wow, they're going a little too fast, and then it kind of blew up. But the investors seem to be there. The want to have an MLS team is there. We hear about rumors all the time of St. Louis, San Antonio, and all these other cities as well. Louisville, I know, is another one that everybody seems to want an MLS team right now, which is good, and that's how it continues to grow.
Yeah, great problem to have, right? I mean, that certainly wasn't the case back when, St. Phil was basically propping up the entire league and owning, half of the teams,
right?
Essentially. So, yeah, this league has come a long way in a positive sense. And, you guys are absolutely correct. The fact that people want to be involved and wealthy people and movers and shakers in this world, not just domestically but internationally, that they realize what a great opportunity this league presents them. I take that as a massive positive.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on that one.
Yeah, Rob, it's interesting too, going back what you were saying about how this offseason there doesn't seem to be much to really hammer on about. And in fact, one of the things that I noticed this offseason as compared to last offseason is the league. I'm a Portland Timbers guy myself, and looking just at the Timbers, the amount of transfers that they've made out of the league and actually, making money off of these players versus last year, all the American players coming back,
yep,
and teams having to pay transfer fees for that. I'm curious, speaking of that, if you have any insight onto any transfers that you think may happen down the road.
No, I really don't right now. I think the next real important wave will be in the summer, when the leagues in Europe and whatnot start wrapping up and guys say, it's time for a new adventure, a new endeavor, and the MLS teams kind of get a better sense of where they are. But, you do forget that, the Galaxy made a lot of moves this offseason.
It's kind of unfair, honestly.
World Cup vets that just, by the way, here's Nigel Sihong and Ashley Cole. And, my partner, Brad Friedel, was out at the Galaxy practice the other day, and he said, man, these guys look good, and they're motivated to play and to kind of prove their worth again. And MLS and the Galaxy got them at a real good price as well. But, I think that the whole transfer concept is kind of cyclical. I think you go through a buy stage and then you go through a sell stage and then it's time to buy again. Right now this is a good time to sell because the market is really high and people are paying a lot of money. I mean, just look what China is doing right now. And
right.
If they're going to throw some silly money out your way, you'd be silly to not jump on it.
Exactly, and you talk about selling a guy like Obafemi Martins too for as much money as Seattle will receive for him. They can turn that around and find some good mid to high level players in Major League Soccer, or maybe in some other lower leagues too, that they can bring in and develop and really showcase what those players are doing. Now, you did mention the whole fact that transfer season is a big deal. I wonder, is the narrative that Major League Soccer is a retirement league, is that finally starting to go away a little bit? Because you do hear about some of these younger guys that are internationally, acclaimed or starting to come up in their own countries and now wanting to go to Major League Soccer. I feel like we're starting to slowly move away from that retirement league status, or are we still kind of stuck there?
I wouldn't say we're stuck there, but it's certainly still an element. When Ashley Cole comes here and he can't even get on the field for Roma, the retirement talk comes up, and the fact Steven Gerrard says this is my last season. Well, this is that's retirement talk if you ask me. But you're right. That's why I thought the Giovinco signing from Italy last year for Toronto was so massive, because you have a player in his 20s who can still play at the high level and is playing for a national team that is, a legit national team, not just some country that you maybe stumble on late at night watching some game. I mean, we're talking Italy here, right? And this is a young man who said, I can still play for my national team. Yet I'm gonna do my club activities here in North America. And I think he's going to be a bit of a groundbreaker.
And along with that
he's had, there's going to be more and more players out there who are going to say, well, wait a second, why can't I live in the United States? Because so many of these players do want to come here. Why can't I live here and play here on the club level and yet still represent my nation? I think you're going to see more and more of that type of talent. And those are exactly the type of guys that MLS brass wants in their league.
Right, and then one of the things too, along with that, speaking of Giovinco, is even the Italian national team coach at the time had said, "Hey, you know what? Pretty soon people are going to be elbowing each other to get into that league with how it's growing.
Get in now while you can, right?
Right.
And make your connections and start selling. I mean, Nigel Young is a young cat. There's a lot of up and coming talent still in MLS. I think the Jordan Morris story is fantastic, and it's only grown the last couple of days with Martins being transferred out, and a big forward roadblock right in front of him, and the playing time department has been moved out of town. So I think that creates a bigger and better opportunity for Jordan Morris to see more playing time in his first season as a professional, and being paired up with Clint Dempsey. I just love that, the old guard and the new guard coming together. I think that's going to be a real interesting storyline through the course of MLS's campaign.
Yeah, speaking of Jordan Morris and Clint Dempsey, Rob, of course it's a perfect transition you set up there for us to talk about the U.S. national team. And, there's the team for the first time, I think, in ever won both their January camp games, so we saw some positives out of that. But we can't lie and say since the World Cup has ended that it's been a bit tumultuous with with Klinsmann at the helm.
We could use multiple words to describe that, but we don't want to turn this into a bash Klinsmann
right? No,
segment.
not at all. Not at all. I'm just curious again. With your connections that you have, if there's any insight you have there, or how you see the U.S. national team progressing these next couple of years with the young guys that were in the January camp.
Well, there's a ton of young talent out there. I feel like last year was kind of a lost year, to be honest. And I know U.S. Soccer will spin it and say this was a down year. It's after the World Cup cycle. It's kind of clean out the forest a little bit. Some
rebuilding
of these old
year,
trees, we need to knock them down so the young growth can come up and rise. And I get that and I buy that. But I'll still, to my grave, say Landon Donovan should have been on that World Cup team.
Yep.
I still feel at this moment Clint Dempsey has tremendous value to the U.S. men's national team if he wants it and plays at the level that we're accustomed to. But for the first time in a while through this January camp, I have felt this momentum, this offensive momentum, which is even more intriguing to me, where you're saying, wow, we got some guys who are actually fast. I feel like it's been a long time since we've had fast American players on the field, guys who can just flat out beat you. And you know what? I'll sacrifice some skill for speed. I feel like maybe that blue collar ethic is coming back a little bit more. I think we got away from it for a while, and I think we're becoming a little bit more. I hesitate to say it, but a little more American. With just we're going to work hard and we're going to outwork you and we're going to be fast, and we may not be pretty, we may not be sexy, but man, we're going to be a pain in the tail play against, and I feel like we're getting back to that. I feel like the optimism is there, but look, last year was a failure. Gold Cup, we bombed out. That was
awful.
Complete train wreck of a tournament for the U.S. Copa America is another big opportunity for us to kind of prove where we are on the international stage, but that's not going to be easy.
Well, I personally,
and I would like to see some of our young kids that we don't get to see too often have an opportunity to get on the field with an Argentina or Brazil or Uruguay or something like that.
Yeah, and it's one of the things is I feel like I will say that it's been constant experimentation.
Yeah.
And that's one thing I'd like to see resolved. There's got to be a point at which you say, you know what, these are the guys we're going with.
You can only tinker for so long, honestly, before you're like, okay, you have to know by now at least who you can rely on. At least 15 to 20 guys that you can call into camp consistently and be like, look, I know what you guys can do. I don't need to try to continue to shuffle you guys in and out like a revolving door at a hotel.
Yeah, well, I think to a point Jurgen does feel that. I think he does have a big group of talents that he's very comfortable with, but if given the option to have somebody you're comfortable with that's older or somebody that you are growing comfortable with who's younger, you're going to take that second one. And that second one is the type of guy that he's been looking for and pushing for. So, look, we don't live in a patient society. I'm not a patient guy with the U.S. national team. I cheer them on till the day I die. But I get frustrated as well as a lot of other fans do, and I get just as elated and excited about them as you guys do. And I like the fact that there's some optimism. I like the fact that Jurgen, I think maybe has mellowed his tone a little bit to the media, to the players, to everybody, where he's even become a little more, again, such an odd term, but a little more Americanized. I hear it in the words he uses and the way he presents things. We're not in Germany. This is America, and he's getting a little bit of a greater understanding of what the American player is.
Which is good to hear,
and another point is I think there's a lot of people out there who are kind of tired of this German-American experiment. And, there was a time where it's great to find anybody who is an American citizen, no matter where they are and, what degree their level of loyalty to this country is. But I think people are kind of tiring of it. But I'm loving the fact that that guys like Brooks and company, who were born in Germany and represent our country, but they love this country. And
yes.
These are guys who make a pact when they were teenagers that if we got a chance to play for the U.S., this is what we want to do. So I think that story has been lost a little bit, that these guys aren't just kind of road warriors who fly in for a couple days, wear the red, white, and blue, and then off they go back to Germany. These are more and more, you're seeing more and more of these German-American talents who want to stay in America. They want to come early. They want to leave late. They want to live their life here. They want a vacation here. So I see that as another good thing for the national team.
Well, and speaking of Germany, we've got a young American over there playing for Borussia Dortmund now, Christian Puselik.
Yep. Out of Pennsylvania.
Right.
Nice little guy.
So it's talk about somebody who really gives you hope as well. And speaking of Borussia and all that, you guys do a great job over there at Fox with covering Champions League. It's really wonderful work. So we're down to the final 16. I'm sure you saw the Ronaldo sick goal that he had the other day.
I mean, it took a deflection, but it was a good goal, honestly. A great cutback.
We'd it'd be wrong of us to have you on the show and not ask you about basically who you think may take the crown this year.
Well, I think the conversation always starts with the two big Spanish clubs. You could even say the three with Atletico Madrid, with what they've done, domestically and internationally in the Champions League the last couple of years. Yeah, I think PSG is a bit of a sleeper. I think, the odds makers have them as the number 4 or 5 team. I think they do have the makeup that can make some noise at that level. Outside of that, I'm not sure there's anybody else I'm willing to put any of my money on. I think it's always a safe bet to go with Barcelona to repeat. The three of them, those three amigos up top, are just it's an absolute pleasure to watch, and I hope people realize what a fortunate day and age we live in to have all of these absolute world-class talents, not just world-class talents of our time, but of generations on the all-time list. So that's what we're talking about with Zlatan and Neymar and Ronaldo and Messi and even Suarez now more and more. To see these guys in their prime, we are really fortunate. We are spoiled soccer fans right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you make that point, Rob, because, I grew up in the 70s and 80s when we had Made in Germany on once a week on PBS.
You and me both.
Yeah,
a random NASL game.
Right.
Maybe.
So not only are we living in a great time where all this talent is alive, but us as Americans actually get to tune in almost every day of the week to watch these guys play. It's still, for me, I sit back and I think about how much the game itself has grown, and I'm blown away. I'm living in a time that I always dreamed about.
Exactly, and even talking about that, too, from a perspective, one of the side jobs that I do is I'm an overnight producer at a radio station, and we always have the TV on, and last night during the Sports Center Top 10, there were 2 or 3 different soccer highlights that kept getting shown. I mean, I know there were Champions League and Ronaldo and Messi, but you actually see entities like ESPN and Fox as well taking time to take segments out of their NFL, NBA busy schedule, saying, hey, by the way, this is what's happening in the world of soccer. And it's nice to see that these big networks are finally catching on, saying, hey, people actually want to hear about this and want to talk about it. So it's nice to see. We're not 100% there. I don't know if we'll ever compare to what the NFL and NBA and Major League Baseball do on a weekly basis, but the fact is that it's there. And if you want to watch it, you can, and there are specific shows on TV and the radio that you can see that.
And then on top of it, this is not kissing up, I promise, but you get guys like Rob Stone, Eric Winalda, Alexi Lalas, doing such a great job covering
exactly, and that's the thing about it too, is that you've got those guys that have those paths
that have the knowledge.
Can come in. Yep, exactly. Well, Rob Stone, it has been an absolute pleasure, sir. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to chat with us here on Two Up Front. Any parting thoughts or bits of wisdom or a funny story about Alexi Lalas before we let you go?
I'm gonna save that for the bar. I'll say Viva Wisconsin.
Well, we appreciate it, Rob Stone. Rob Stone of Fox Sports joining us here on Two Up Front. Rob, we will talk to you again in the future.
You got it. See you guys. Have a good day.
See you,
Thank
Rob.
you. You too. Rob Stone of Fox Sports Soccer. As we wrap up another segment here on Two Up Front, we're going to go to a break. When we come back, Simon and I have got a few things we need to talk about in the soccer world, especially MLS, so you're not going to want to miss it. We'll be back with more on Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America, right after this. Welcome back to another edition of Two Up Front, presented by Sports Radio America. I'm Baxter Colburn.
And I'm Simon Provan.
Remember, if you want to listen to the show, you can get us on Fridays from 2 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on sportsradioamerica.com and on TuneIn. You can also find us on Wednesdays as well here on Spreaker.com from 1 to 2:30 to 15 Central Time as well. However, as soon as I say that, we have a different change in scheduling for next week, Simon.
We sure do. We're going to be on next Thursday.
Yes.
I'm off filming again on Wednesday, so we'll be next Thursday.
11 to 12:30 Central Time.
And very special guest on that show as well.
Yes, we have two, actually. We have two
do.
special guests. We can tell people about them, I guess, if we'd like to. The first one is the foot golf president of the United States of America. He will be joining us to chat a little bit about foot golf. Roberto Balestrini will be on about halfway through the show. And then to kick off the show, we have former Revolution, Chicago Fire, and Colorado Rapids player, and I think now Carolina Railhawks player.
That's correct, right.
Wells Thompson will be joining us as well. So that is next Thursday, March 10th. Mark your calendars, 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Central Time. You can get that obviously live on that Thursday, or you can hear it on Sports Radio America as well from 2 to 5 on Friday. All right, well, we 2 segments ago, before we brought in Rob Stone, which was fantastic. You get to chat with Rob Stone, by the way.
It was amazing.
He was,
it was
great, great guy, and I mentioned this off the air. I think he owes us a drink because he said those bar stories
That's
about
right.
Alexi Lalas. So I think he was offering to get a drink with us. So next time we're in LA, we're gonna have to be like, "Hey, Rob, got that drink, right?" But
Let me just say, Baxter, it's been so awesome with our relaunch, and one of the big plans we had was
more
keep the local guests, more interviews, and get some higher caliber folks are people higher up in the soccer world. I think that's a fair way to say it.
Exactly,
right?
And it's not a diss to anybody that's ever been on the show. We
Right.
love all of you, and it's just fantastic that as we keep growing, more people of bigger names want to be on the show, which is fantastic. So a lot of obviously way more exciting interviews coming up as well. So we are excited about that. So make sure to be on the lookout for that. So obviously next Thursday, as we mentioned, 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Thursday, not Wednesday, Thursday, March 10th. Wells Thompson and Roberto Balestrini will both be on Two Up Front. You're not going to want to miss it.
Well, Baxter, we are at the point where we're doing our MLS predictions. And we're running short on time because we've been having such a good time. So I think we may just not give much talk about these, but we at least need to give our...
Zoom. We will. You're right.
Get our picks out here.
Thank you for saying that because I forgot. All right. Okay, Simon. Well, do you want to start out? Do you want me to go?
Yeah, I can start us out here.
Sounds good.
All right, so every team is kicking off the season
We
on
have an
Sunday.
even number.
We do. 10 games, all 20 teams playing. Right? 20 teams? Is that right?
I think that's where we're at now.
20? 20? 24?
Yeah, 20. No, we're supposed to have 24 by 2020.
That's right, okay. All right.
It's 10 and 10, and so yeah, math and stuff
Obviously
would say
don't have
20.
20/20 vision.
Okay,
All
so
right.
first game.
Red Bulls and Toronto FC. This for me is probably one of the easiest picks this week. I'm going with New York Red Bulls.
Yep, I got to agree with you on that one as well.
Boom. Done. Chicago or NYCFC?
Nobody cares. No, New York.
Good. That's our first one that we're going to disagree on. I'm picking Chicago. Playing at home in Bridgeview.
Are we going to track this now?
Let's do it.
Are we going to track?
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
We'll track this season.
Okay, I'll go back.
And by that I mean you will track the season.
You're right. Yes, when I have time at 3 a.m. on my producer job, be like, oh yeah, Simon had said we were going to do this, so I can keep track of it. Perfect. All right, so we'll split it, and we are accepting draws as well this year.
Absolutely.
Okay. And just as a precursor, anybody listening out there too, if you have predictions about these games as well, please let us know. You can tell us on social media, on Facebook by going to 2 Up Front on Facebook, or tweeting at 2 Upfront Soccer on Twitter, or at Baxter Colburn, at Simon Provan. Let us know your thoughts.
I'll look into a way of having people do this, on our website as well. To
Yes,
see if there's some type
that'd be great. Submit your predictions or something.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a thing.
Or a way
it
for them
somewhere.
to pick some type of poll I can come up with. So I'll figure that out.
I'm sure. There's a way. Orlando and Real Salt Lake. Orlando, fill the bowl. They're hosting.
That's right, and that's who I'm picking as well. I'm taking Orlando City.
I'm going to have a really hard time picking RSL anytime this season.
I agree with you.
Until I see real production from them, I'm going to have a hard time.
You're looking for Real production from Real Salt Lake. FC
was
Dallas
salty.
or Philadelphia.
FC Dallas, 100%.
Yeah, I think this might even be easier than the Red Bulls game. FC Dallas for sure.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Philadelphia playing
true.
in Dallas.
Truth. Agreed. Houston and New England. I have to pick Houston because New England is terrible in Houston. I don't care if they just beat them in the Desert Diamond Cup. That's fantastic. Traditionally, New England, number 1, is awful against Houston. Number 2 is awful in Houston. Number 3, when it's an MLS Cup, they're even more bad. So now, obviously I want them to win, but I don't think they're going to win.
Yeah. Houston.
Okay. That's what I thought. San Jose, Colorado. Simon's going all in Colorado this season, so I might as well buy you a jersey.
What?
You put them in your top 6, so therefore, hey, you've sold out, man. Your soul is sold to the Rapids now.
No. By the way, I already have a Colorado Rapids shirt, but
I used to have
not a jersey. A buddy of mine went out to visit their stadium, and all I got was a T-shirt.
Super side note, I know we don't have this kind of time, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. How long before we see Colorado get a new name?
Oh.
You know?
Well, they did the rebrand with the logo, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm curious because we're kind of straying away from these, like, you know, the New York Red Bulls.
I don't think they will.
The Chicago
Yeah,
Fire.
I don't think they will.
You don't think so? They'll always be the Colorado Rapids or Colorado FC or anything?
There's a Colorado FC that already exists, so there'll be some legal stuff
spy
there.
them out.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so who'd you pick in this game?
I'm picking San Jose.
Yeah, I got San Jose also.
It's at home. That's why.
True. The big game that I'm sure everyone's super excited about, Portland and Columbus.
It is
rematch.
the game of the week.
It is.
Without a doubt.
It's on ESPN primetime, 3:30 Central, 4:30 Eastern, depending on where you live in the great US of A. Who you got?
Well, you got Portland, who obviously wants to, make a statement their first game out. Then you got Columbus, who wants some revenge for
Hardcore.
MLS Cup. By the way, I love the fact that Portland has pretty much officially moved to just having their logo without having their name on it.
Mm-hmm.
It just goes to show how big that club is, you know what I'm saying?
I mean, the Revs haven't had their name on their logo for years, but I understand what
Who?
you're saying. Exactly.
So anyways, Portland Timbers. I'm picking the Timbers.
Fun fact, the Revs and the Timbers are the only two teams that don't have their name on their logo.
Oh, look at that.
RSL. Just kidding. Stupid RSL. Ruining the fun. Yeah, I've got Columbus winning this game.
Okay. All right.
Vancouver, Montreal. This will be a fun game. Cascadia.
White caps.
Yeah.
White caps.
Yep, I agree. Seattle and Sporting Kansas City.
It's an all Cascadia weekend for me.
Woo!
I'm picking the Sounders.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'm curious to know what Sporting Kansas City does. The game's in Seattle, so it's hard to bet against Seattle in Seattle, so I'm going to have to go for Seattle.
Yeah, I just, the reason I didn't pick Sporting Kansas City in my top 6 is I just don't know what we're going to see from them this year. That's all.
No, I would agree with you on that one, and that's the big thing about it. It's like, yes, you've got Dom Dwyer, yes, you've got Benny Fellhopper, but, you lose Christian Amos, so that's always got to be a little bit concerning as well. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Sporting could surprise people this year.
Last game of the night, it's two teams that have bombed out of the CONCACAF Champions League, LA Galaxy against DC United in LA, and I am picking the Galaxy.
Yeah, I got to go with you on that one, too. The Galaxy I'm hoping that they maybe just have been saving their energy. And I understand Champions League, blah, 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 whatever, insert arguments for Champions League being great, etc. Got it, Galaxy, definitely the better team. All right, really, really fast, before we get to our I Believe, we've got to make mention of this. The USA, England, France, and Germany women's national teams are playing in the She Believes Cup. That will be featured down in Nashville, Tampa, and Boca Raton, Florida. Love the idea. I think it's awesome. It's called the She Believes Cup. It starts tomorrow and runs until March 9th, so March 3rd to the 9th. My 2 cents about it, I think this is fantastic. I think that more national teams should do this, where they get 4 out of the 5 best teams in the world together with all of their great players and play a short little round-robin tournament. Just have fun with it and also get to showcase the best players in the world in their sport.
Yeah, unfortunately there's just not enough dates in the calendar for the men's side, considering how many more men's leagues there are. But it would be pretty sweet to every once in a while just see a 4. The U.S. used to do it with the U.S. Cup back in the early 90s.
Yes.
And that was great. That was a great start to the U.S. getting on their feet and becoming a country that actually knows the game.
Yes.
Not saying we're a powerhouse by any stretch of the imagination, but that we know how to play the game and look at, qualified for World Cups ever since 1990.
Agreed. All right, it is our I Believe segment, probably the fastest I Believe segment in show history. We didn't do a 50-50 this week, but it's all good. We had much more important things to get to than arguing this week, Simon. So are we establishing that our I Believe this week is our prediction for MLS Cup?
Sure,
are we predicting the winners, or are we predicting the 2 teams to go?
Let's predict. Let's be big and bold. Let's go for a winner.
Okay. Who are you thinking?
Oh, now he throws it on me.
I mean, I can go.
I didn't know that this were going to do, and now he throws it on me.
No,
okay.
No,
that's fine. No. I'll go big.
Okay.
I'm going to go real big. For the first time since 06-07, Portland is going to be repeating as MLS Cup champs.
Really? Who are they beating?
Who are they? Oh, I didn't know. See, you're throwing all kinds.
Isn't that
Red Bulls?
They're beating the Union, Philadelphia. I don't know.
No, I picked Red Bulls last year to win it all.
True.
And they haven't changed much
Okay.
in a very good way. So I'm picking Red Bulls for the other team.
Okay. And for me, I believe that it will be the New York Red Bulls defeating FC Dallas
Okay.
in the final this
Fair
year.
enough pick as well.
Red Bulls, FC Dallas. I like what Columbus is doing. I like, obviously, the New England. I wish they were to do better, but New York just seems to be the best team overall, in my opinion, right now. So, all right, well, thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of Two Up Front. It was a fast-paced, exciting, guest-packed show. Thank you so much to Milwaukee Torrent's Andi Davi for stopping by and letting us know everything that's going on with the Torrent this upcoming season. April 23rd, opening kick for the NPSL's newest franchise, the Milwaukee Torrent, against Marquette University at Valley Fields here in Milwaukee. Go and check out that game. Buy tickets online, MilwaukeeTorrent.com. Special thanks to Fox Sports soccer analyst Rob Stone for stopping by and taking some time out of his busy schedule as well. It's fantastic to hear from him. And, of course, Simon, always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Likewise, Baxter. Thank you.
You are very welcome. Thank you to all of you for listening. Remember, Fridays, 2 to 5 p.m. Central or Eastern Time on SportsRadioAmerica.com and on TuneIn and on demand on Spreaker, iTunes, and iHeartRadio as well.
Social media. We are on Facebook. Wow.
What are we,
Wow. Woo. Facebook. You can find us Two Up Front. What else do we do? Twitter?
Yeah,
Twitter.
that's a thing.
At Two Up Front Soccer. He is at Baxter Colburn. I am at Simon Provan.
And if you ever want to email the show, 2upfrontsoccer@gmail.com, and our website, of course. Go and check it out. All the interviews, all that great stuff. 2upfrontsoccer.wix.com/2upfrontsoccer. He's Simon Provan. I'm Baxter Colburn. With our manager being the one above, we are Two Up Front.